It's 1973, the middle of a hot, stifling summer morning. My body is dripping little baby riverlets of perspiration that are running like little streams down my sides. It's not even 9 a.m. and I've already gone through 2 rubber bands because my hair is 5 times its normal size from sucking up the Milwaukee humidity like those sponge dinosaur capsules when you drop them in water. My little sister, she's on her 3rd rubber band, are sitting together. We're under the blazing sun on our back porch, trying to figure out a way to keep our thighs from sticking to the gray painted wood. Our backs are up against the kitchen screen door when her face presses up into mine. "Oh," she says, "I don't feel good, not one bit." I look at her, and as evidence that we're both melting, beads of sweat are beginning to form on her upper lip. "Shh," I warn her, "shh." I turn around to peek inside the kitchen. "It's just hot. Now you have to be quiet or she will hear you." I nod my head toward my grandmother, my Abuelita, who is inside. "But I don't feel good." She puts her head down in her lap and starts to moan like a ghost in an abandoned Transylvanian castle. "Did you drink your water? You didn't drink your water. You're dehydrated. I know you're dehydrated. I'm going to put you in the shade." She tries to get up and walk, but the sun has dissolved her bones into sawdust. I drag her body to the shade of our pear tree, and I set her up against the bark. I ask her questions that make me sound like I'm concerned. But I have an ulterior motive, and that is to keep her quiet. I want to say, "Shut up," but I don't. I say, "Here, just rest, honey, and think hard about what's going to make you feel worse. Heat stroke or getting tied down with one of her bandanas." If I were you, I advise, I'd take the heat stroke. My sister's eyes widen, and I know she gets it. She gasps. Her bandanas, the bandanas. But it's too late. My Abuelita's bandana radar has already picked up the woeful lamentation of a child. My grandmother is running out of the house now, waving a red bandana in her hand like she's flagging a bull. My sister is in for the Colombian bandana cure-all from the Medical College of Abuela. My Colombian grandmother lived with us since we were born. She was a kind, gentle woman who loved her children and then her children's children, which were the same thing as her children. She lived by her South American village textbook cure for any physical, mental, even spiritual anguish, which was to tie a bandana around it. Headache? Tie a bandana around it. Stiff neck? Tie a bandana around it. Melancholy? Tie a bandana around your tortured soul. Oh, believe me, she knew how to do it. My grandmother was well versed in bandana. She had been the herbal shaman of her small village in Colombia. The fact that she was now living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, did nothing to stop her from continuing to practice with her Andean Mountain medical license. To her, the letters AMA stood for Alternative Medicine Association. I'm not really clear on the rules of the Colombian Bandana Cure-All Club, but I think that what I'm about to do is okay. My grandmother never told us we could talk about it, but she didn't say we couldn't talk about it. So, here you go. For a mosquito-filled Wisconsin night, you take a bandana. You fill it with tobacco leaves and then wrap it around your child's head. It will keep the mosquitoes away. It also works the same way on any potential friends. During pollen and ragweed season, treat nasal congestion by shaking nasal searing rubbing alcohol into the hollow of your hand, and then wipe the liquid fire-soaked hands down with a bandana you keep in your housecoat. Hold the child steady between your knees. Bind their head tight with a red scarf until it looks like his eyebrows are scotch-taped up to his forehead. Is it any wonder I have a hard time remembering parts of my childhood? If the fumes didn't knock me out, I'd be flattened by the atomic blast to my nostrils. For headaches, take a bandana. Big surprise. Fill the bandana with orange peelings, tie it tighter than tight around the temples, allow just enough vision to prevent the child from stepping into traffic. When it came to headaches, my siblings and I used to beg and plead with our grandmother. But Abuelita, we'd cry, the kids at school use something called Tylenol. Ah, she'd scold. Go get my bandanas. She'd top off the kerchief tying with a signature knot. It was the size of a Costa Rican butterfly. And she would center it perfectly between our eyes. And then she would send us out to play in our East Side neighborhood. Imagine my popularity. Run along, niños. Go make new amigos. And don't forget to blend in. There were days when the bandana made me feel as if my childhood would never end. Then I wanted nothing more than to find a dog that didn't know how to play fetch, just so I could throw him those bandanas. She even drove me to organize a bandana mutiny. I recruited my sister and brothers. Come on, guys, I whispered one night. This will totally work. Each of us will just say no when she tries to tie us up with a bandana. But she was a sworn shaman and as such loyal to the bandana oath, to forsake all medicine that wasn't deliverable in a patterned scarf. Time went on, childhood mercifully ended, and we left home, eager for the freedom to live a bandana-free life. In 1987, we lost our grandmother. It was when my sisters and I were packing up her room that I saw the bandanas again. In the corner of the top drawer of her brown dresser, neatly folded in a pile inside of white tissue paper, were my grandmother's red bandanas. There are items from our lives that remain visceral, that trigger something in us that never goes away. I looked at the red scarves and remembered how many times she had cared for us with them. I had seen her wipe my little sister's mouth tenderly. I remember how she had packed a scarf with ice cubes and wrapped it around my head after my wisdom teeth were pulled. My grandmother had been there for it all, along with her scarves. I picked up the soft, warm kerchiefs and held them like fragile, forgotten birds' nests. As I ran my fingers across the faded fabric, I wondered, did they still retain their magic? If I held these folded red squares of cloth tightly against me, would they ease the pain that was in my heart? As I pressed them close to my chest, they did. Thank you.